Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Outside Line podcast. Today, I am joined by Mason Wood and Christopher Shoemaker. My name is Jacob Barker. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastico. How are you?
I'm here. I got my new hat on today. I actually got this over the weekend. A good friend of mine got this for me in Bristol, and I said, if you can't find it, don't worry about it. But he was actually able to find the white HendrickCars.com hat for me at Bristol, so pretty
Nice.
stoked about it. We got a good bit to talk about today, but we have some breaking news.
Wait. How's Chris doing?
I
Leave me out.
Hey, come on.
Oh, I'm doing all right. Relaxing weekend. Got some racing to talk about this weekend.
Yeah, all aside from the tornado warnings, right?
Yeah, that was annoying. Having the weatherman pop up every 5 minutes,
Sure.
give us an update, which is nice for the people that are being tornadoed, but because that's a verb now. But
Well, if you live in Nebraska, it is.
Do you have it popping up at the top of your screen, the warnings during the race and stuff?
no, they were actually interrupting the race.
Really?
Yeah, and during the interviews, like at the Long Beach race, when during the interviews, like right when they had asked the driver a question, it would just cut to the weatherman. So I didn't get to see any of the interviews.
It's just like perfect timing for everything.
Right?
So yeah, we've got some breaking news out of the NASCAR's top 75 list. Greg Biffle is officially a member of the NASCAR 75 list. A little unexpected, but like we were talking about before we started, if Casey Kane gets on the list, then Greg Biffle should get on the list.
Well, and I was looking at it too, in Greg Biffle's defense, 19 Cup Series victories, 20 in the Xfinity Series, and then 17 in the truck. So he had over 15 wins in each of the top three series, and so I think that we saw a wheel and modified driver get put in there last week, and I think that they're really looking at how good were you in every form of NASCAR racing, and I think that Biffle was good in all three series that he raced in. He's one of the an exclusive list to win in all three series. So I think he has a truck. Does he have a Truck Series championship? I believe he does.
I believe he does. He might have a Busch championship as well.
I was going to say, I think the only thing he doesn't have is a Cup championship, but Biff definitely deserves to be up there for some of his racing in all three of the Premier Series in NASCAR.
Initially, I'll admit, when I heard that just a few minutes ago when we were talking off air about it, I was thinking, really? Greg Biffle? But then going over the stats and everything, that makes sense.
Well, think about what he did a couple years ago in a Kyle Busch Motorsports truck. He went out to Texas and whooped their butts.
That race was so fun to watch. I watched that entire thing. I was like on vacation in Chicago, and seeing him win that race, that was really cool. And it shows that he still can win in any form of racing.
Yeah, I would assume that both you and I were having some flashbacks from our early childhood days of Biffle just going out there and tearing it up.
Absolutely. Biffle was one of those guys that, he'd come out kind of randomly in certain weeks and just destroy the field. And it was good to see that come through again a couple weeks ago, but happy to see him on the 75 list. How many is that now? 4 that we've seen? 5 go on?
More, maybe 6, I think. We've got Tony Stewart, Mike Stefanik, Casey Kane, Davey Allison, Kyle Larson,
6.
And now Greg Biffle.
They're according to the NASCAR.com website where they have updated NASCAR 75 list. Randy LaJoie is showing as a
Randy
new driver
LaJoie
on there as well.
Yep, Randy LaJoie is also on the list as well. And like I said,
so that's 6 out of 25 already gone.
Yep, and I did say that Davey Allison is on the list. I saw a tweet from Liz Allison confirming that he got on the list, and Rusty Wallace as well.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah, and Rusty Wallace got on the list last Monday, I believe. We may have mentioned something about it last week, but Rusty Wallace and Davey Allison are on the list.
That's really not a surprise.
No,
who y'all
no,
think's gonna be? Who y'all think might be the next one be put on there?
Oh man,
that's tough because they've said that they're going to put all of the Cup Series champions on there. So that's 35 out of the 75 spots taken up on the list already. So you can say any of the remaining champions could be put on there, which is obvious. And like I said last week, I think Carl Edwards will get on the list because he's done so much in his career and deserves to be on the list.
Absolutely. I think Carl Edwards is going to, it's unfortunate he never got to win a championship, but he was, he was up there. Like, didn't he have like 9-10 wins that year that Kyle Busch did as well? 2008. It was like him and Kyle Busch.
It was like 8 wins. And then of course, Jimmy Johnson stole the championship.
Yeah. I think that deserves to be remembered.
Oh yeah, and I still on the Matt Kenseth bandwagon. Although he was a champion, though he was the last champion of the old Winston Cup format.
The reason they got away from the Winston Cup format.
Yeah, I can see both reasons, both why they should keep it and why they should get away. But anyways,
that's a rant for another time.
Yeah. And I've probably gone on that rant a couple times too many.
Well, how about we talk about some Long Beach? We had a pretty fun time at Long Beach this past weekend. Not us personally, obviously. We can't afford to go to Long Beach because
absolutely not.
If that would happen, we would be in debt, and that's not a great thing. But IndyCar was in Long Beach this past weekend, as we like to call the Monaco of the United States. Historic street course, been around, not as long as the Indy 500, but it has been around for a very, very long time.
One of the crown jewels.
Yes, a definite crown jewel up there with Indy. Kyle Kirkwood. Very impressive drive. I didn't see that coming either, and I thought that once Newgarden got past Kirkwood, I thought he was going to go. But
yeah, I did too.
It didn't turn out that way. And what did they say that Newgarden's fuel number was? He had to save 8 laps or something like that.
Yeah,
it was something crazy.
Yeah, I don't remember. And poor old Roman Grosjean always was right there, but just a little bit of bad luck.
As always with Grosjean, it's a story of his career. And
although I think he'll be in a championship conversation, I think with Grosjean it's going to be a ketchup bottle thing. Once he gets that first win out of the way, it's going to all come out. He's going to start winning.
Yeah, he definitely has the talent and the equipment to get multiple wins this year. And he should have won a couple times last year as well. And
yeah, at the Indy road course.
Yeah, and he has the championship caliber as a driver to just go out there, get it, and just remain consistent throughout the entire year. But as I've always said, I want to actually double check this because we were talking about this, I guess, in our first episode together. If Indy was a double points race, I want to double check this.
I'm like 95% sure it is.
Just looked it up. It has been decided that double points will no longer be given out at the Indianapolis 500, and that is from a post from February 5th, 2023. So What I
Wow.
was going to say is that the championship favorite is going to come out from the Indy 500 like we have seen from years past. That's no longer the case this year, so you've got to be consistent all year round, obviously, and not depend on these double points races like they have in years prior.
I mean, I have mixed feelings about that because I usually don't like weird double points things that seem gimmicky, but it's the Indy 500, and I can understand that one. You know,
It's the most prestigious race in that sport and really in all of America. I think,
more even
it's
the
under.
world, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So it's understandable to make it double points. So
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would just keep it double points. Try to have a good time with it. Try to have a good points fight coming out of Indy, and that's what it has been in years prior. Ericsson got his first win last year at Indy. Came out.
No, it is Nashville, I believe.
No, he won in the Indy 500 last year, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you said first win
No,
at
you're
Indy. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
you're
Yeah. Okay,
absolutely
never
you're
mind.
absolutely correct. Yes, his first win in IndyCar was Nashville. Got his first Indy 500 last season. So either way, he came out with the points lead, I believe, last year from Indy. It was consistent for a very, very long time until Power just came out of nowhere and stole the championship.
I like Marcus Ericsson. He's
He's
he's a consistent, good, smart driver. Doesn't let his he doesn't let his mind play tricks on him. He's just there, and I don't know. I'm rambling. Anyways, I like Marcus Ericsson.
yeah, he's a very good driver, very consistent, and even in his Formula One days when he wasn't doing too great, he would just be there, be there to have a good time, not let too much bother him. And now he found his way to the States and has a great shot at a championship right now, seeing as he is the current points leader in IndyCar. Uh, he's looking really good right now. Been very consistent over the past couple races. Won at St. Petersburg, so possible shot at a championship. But like you said, is very very early in the season for IndyCar. They're only 3 races in. Um, so Long Beach, we were saying for weeks that it was going to be very chaotic. Not,
Especially in qualifying and
yeah.
practice, there were a lot of crashes this year.
Oh,
What was it? 5?
at least, at least, and but during the race, it was not as chaotic as we expected it to be.
It's a pretty tame race overall. It's still a good race, but it was pretty tame.
yeah, we didn't see any big crashes or anything. I mean, we saw a couple spins here and there. We saw Rossi spin on the last lap and lose like 20 spots, but it was fairly tame for what it was.
Yeah, and then we did see Pato Ward 2 yeet himself into the wall.
Yeah, him and Dixon got together a little bit before that incident, which you
I was
never
crushed because I
see.
picked Dixon.
You never see Scott Dixon get that mad. The Iceman never gets that mad.
And what's funny about it was, if you compare him to other drivers, he really wasn't even that mad.
No, no, he was just like, all right, the gloves are off now. He wasn't like Power swearing up a storm like he usually does. But
Remember that Indy 500 he was in a few years ago where he got in that huge crash and ended up he bounced off the wall,
in
cockpit
in,
first, and
in the catch
like,
fence,
was it the catch fence? It might have been, but he was like a foot off from his head,
hmm
and he was like, "Oh yeah, so that was a thing."
well, what's funny about that, and it actually really isn't that funny. He was the pole winner for that Indy 500. That same night, he was pretty much robbed at gunpoint at eating
Oh,
out at
yeah.
Indianapolis. I remember that story.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, Dixon's just he's like the chillest dude ever. He's just like, yeah, it happened. All right, let's just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he gets really angry, it's like he's just mildly annoyed.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not like Will Power. It just going on a tirade.
I remember a couple of years ago, I saw on Twitter that Will Power wanted to race in NASCAR because he wanted to fight Kyle Busch.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Put him in
I would
Project
pay to see
91.
that.
I would 100% pay to see that. Like I said, put him in Project 91.
Oh yeah.
My money would be on Will Power, though. He's feisty.
Yeah, and
It's
no,
unfortunate Kyle's less feisty these days.
yeah, he really has calmed down in the past couple years.
He still has a punchable face, though.
Well, there goes that.
I'm just saying. Everybody else thinks it. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying the thoughts out loud. So yes, Will Power could be a very well candidate for Project 91. That'd be awesome to see. Another guy I would like, and we're going off script a little bit, but that's fine. Another guy I would actually like to see in Project 91 would be Colton Herta.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the video of him? I forget who was. I think it was Jordan Anderson. Him kind of swapping with Jordan Anderson to just see how Colton would
Yeah,
fit
I did see that. I did.
That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I do wonder how well he'd do there in a stock car. That would be interesting. Another one I would like to see in a stock car would be maybe Joseph Newgarden.
Yes,
I think that'd be very fun to watch.
And Joseph Newgarden's one of those guys is like he can drive anything.
Oh yeah. And the thing I love about his attitude is he doesn't get overwhelmed with anything. He kind of just takes it. That's a champion's attitude. He doesn't get flustered, doesn't do anything like that, doesn't allow other drivers to play mind games with him. That's why I think he would possibly, if he ever got into F1, he would, in a good car, he would possibly be a championship contender. Which it's a shame that there was no interest in Joseph Newgarden in F1.
Yeah, that's terrible. It would be so cool to see Joseph Newgarden, to see him on the F1 grid. Now, don't get me wrong, I love seeing Logan Sargent on the F1 grid. It's great to see an American on the F1 grid for the first time in at least 7 years since Rossi was in his McLaren. Was it McLaren that Rossi was in?
No, it was a Marussia, I think. It's either Marussia or Manor.
Either way, yeah, it's been a long time since we've really had an American on the F1 grid. It's great to see. But yeah, Newgarden, it'd be great to see him in a possible Project 91 car, something like that. I tell you what, the varying strategies from Long Beach, they were fun to watch because we had a 35 to 40 lap run to the end or so.
And that was another example of fuel mileage races can be interesting and fascinating.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and excuse me, and like I said earlier, Newgarden, he pitted a little too early. That's why he had to save so much, and that took him out of contention for the win from Kirkwood. So he had to save like 6 or 7 laps or something crazy like that, which is a ridiculous amount to save at Long Beach.
Yeah. Or in general, really.
Yeah, in general. But yeah, the varying strategies were fun to play out, and that's why stage racing needs to go.
That makes me happy to hear.
uh, maybe next year. Maybe next year. Maybe
Oh,
they'll
I
see
hope
how.
so.
Maybe they'll see how well the stage racing on road courses handles, and they'll actually make a smart decision for the first time in over
Yeah.
20 years.
Hey, I
Uh,
like the road courses. I will say they made the right call with the road courses.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
Um,
one thing I'll praise NASCAR for.
Yeah, it like we saw at Coda, it was very interesting. It was, excuse me, um, dying on the podcast.
It's
Um,
okay. I'm
Me
having like
neither.
an allergy attack while I'm sitting here, so like I'm like I just oh my god,
it,
Lord Almighty.
it's that time of year. Um,
Nerds getting all sick.
Well, it's I mentioned it to some of the football riders at BSP, but when the weather here in Arizona flipped from like it was 60 degrees, and then within 2 days it was like 98, and not
nice.
only can our power lines and stuff not handle that, but my body can't handle that either. So
Y'all can't handle 98-degree weather.
it really I have really bad allergies. It throws everything off. 98 really isn't that bad because there's no humidity here. So like it feels a lot different. Like when we went to Italy, it was like 68 but 90% humidity, and I was sweating, man. And here 98 degrees really isn't that. It's I'm going to say what everybody else says. It's a dry heat, okay?
Yep.
It's a dry heat.
That sounds like every dad ever.
It's like putting your face in the oven. It's the easiest way to explain it.
Speaking of being hot, what about Kyle Larson at Martinsville? He's been on a
Oh
good
yeah.
streak lately.
Tell you what, this hat couldn't have come at a better time for that dub. Um, we'll get to Larson in a minute. I want to talk about the top 10 from Long Beach really quick, and then we'll go over to Martinsville. Um, so our top 10 from Long Beach: Kyle Kirkwood, Roman Grosjean, Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta, Alex Below, Will Power, Felix Rosenquist,
I feel
Marcus
that.
Armstrong, Joseph Newgarden, and Scott McLaughlin. So Newgarden fell all the way to ninth after leading for a good while, and was up there in contention for the win from Kirkwood, just so he could save so much fuel. Shame he only came away with a P9 finish. It could have been a lot better of a finish if Newgarden had gotten up there, or even Grosjean could have gotten up there, because he had at least with 150 seconds of push to pass to go, with two to go. So I personally thought that Grosjean was going to get Kirkwood at the end, but didn't turn out that way. So congrats to Kyle Kirkwood on his first IndyCar win. It's always good to see these young guys get their first win, just to get it out of the way, and then they can start really competing for more wins and a possible championship down the road.
Yeah, and especially after last season, Kirkwood had a bad rookie season,
Yeah,
got into a few messes, and kind of was getting a little bit of a bad reputation.
yeah, and yeah, that was not a great rookie season that he was having. So I think this is a fresh start for Kirkwood, and it's going to help. It's really going to help Andretti Autosport.
Going back to Marcus Ericsson, though, I heard something that y'all would probably enjoy talking about during the
Oh,
broadcast. Townsend Bell called Marcus Ericsson. It was either Townsend Bell or James Hinchcliffe. Both called Marcus Ericsson kind of like he's a lot like Kevin Harvick and just being there at the end and being sneaky.
I do remember them saying that. I think
Yeah.
that's a very true statement. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
And
he's sneakier than Kevin Harvick, honestly.
man, I don't know. After watching Harvick for so many years, he's been in the sport almost as long as I've been alive. So after watching Harvick for so many years, it's hard to compare Ericsson to Harvick after him being in IndyCar for what, 4 years or so.
4 or 5, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to draw that comparison. Now they're both great drivers in their own perspective, but it really is hard to draw that comparison to call Ericsson the closer after only like 4 or 5 years in IndyCar, with Harvick being in the Cup Series for a little over 20.
Another thing I noticed too, there are rumors that McLaren might have another entry next year. Any idea who that could be?
Into the full
Into
season.
IndyCar.
Well, the only real thing that we've gotten is that we know that Kyle Larson is going to be in the Indy 500 next year, but for a full entry into the whole season, I have no idea. The only driver that I can really think of would be Valtteri Bottas.
You think? You think
He's
he'd want to come back to, or want to come to America?
he's expressed interest in trying IndyCar.
You know, I remember back in the weekend that Dan Weldon died. They were interviewing Kimi Räikkönen to make a little appearance there to race at Las Vegas. And they had a whole bunch of people that they were talking to. And most of them were like, oh, no, that just doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, and I don't know. I could see maybe if Logan Sargent, if he gets sick of F1, he could maybe go to McLaren.
That was the one I
Maybe.
was thinking of, maybe.
And which is understandable if you get sick of F1 really quickly. And
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game over there.
I was also thinking yesterday, I was thinking that IndyCar really needs a third engine supplier. If there was any engine supplier, who do you think that would be that would have legitimate interest in going into IndyCar?
The first one off the top of my head would be Toyota.
Yeah, I read Toyota is sniffed around a little bit.
Yeah, Toyota would be the first one that I can think of.
That makes the most sense to me, Toyota.
Yeah. If there'd be a second one, I don't see Ford getting into IndyCar.
Yeah, I
No.
was reading about that last night too, and I believe it's because Ford doesn't like the engine formula in IndyCar for some reason. But if they do end up having a third engine manufacturer, and it's a Japanese manufacturer like Toyota, they have to have a race in Japan.
Yes, they need to go back to Motegi.
Or Fiji.
Or
Fiji would be fun. Fiji would be so much fun.
And my perfect IndyCar schedule would be, of course, USA, race in Canada, Mexico City, Australia, one of the famous British tracks, whether it be Brands Hatch, Silverstone.
I would go to Silverstone.
Wherever. And Australia and Japan. Because you have so many drivers from those countries, and then the engine manufacturer is based in Japan. Half of the cars practically are Honda engines.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes the most sense.
And Brazil.
Yeah, I loved Sao Paulo. That was a fun street course. I would I would definitely, if I was an IndyCar, I would definitely at least take a look back going into some global tracks, at least Sao Paulo and possibly Motegi or Fiji.
Yeah, and what about Adelaide in Australia? I wonder if that would work.
I don't know. That's the thing. You don't know with some of these cars. Surfer's Paradise. I feel like with
That was
these,
a train wreck.
yeah, that's too dangerous now. Mount Panorama, uh,
No.
no, no, somebody would get killed.
Who
It's just
needs catch fences, anyways?
not IndyCar.
Catch fences are for nerds,
Yeah,
just like brakes.
yeah, full full send. If I don't know where they would go if they go back to Australia.
Melbourne Park, maybe? Or Albert Park, I'm sorry.
Maybe that if it's working well enough for uh, F1, why not try it with IndyCar?
Yeah. Although, honestly, that's realistic of them going out of North America.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows at this rate? It'd be a couple years down the road if something was like that was going to happen.
I'd
Um,
love to see an international calendar,
Man,
though.
that'd be so much fun. Be like the old IndyCar days.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember CART had an international calendar.
so as of Long Beach, Marcus Ericsson is the points leader, followed by Pato O'Ward, then Alex Palou, Newgarden, Kirkwood, Dixon, Grosjean, Colton Herta, Will Power, and Scott McLaughlin. Um, so it's going to be a very tight championship as it usually is. Um, so I think that our champion for IndyCar comes from the top six, from Ericsson all the way down to Dixon. Um, it'd be fun to see if Dixon could push for a seventh championship. I've been saying for years that Dixon is one of the greatest. I grew up on watching Scott Dixon, and I would love to see him win his seventh championship.
Yeah, my pick though is probably I'd say either Ericsson or Pato.
Yeah, it that would be cool to see Pato get one, or Ericsson. So who knows? Bunch of young guys at the top. Great to see.
Nice to
So
see a Swede win a championship. Did Kenny Brack ever win one in IRL?
I don't know. I
I don't
feel
think
like
he
he did,
did.
but I'm not 1,000% certain.
I know
Yeah,
he
I'm
won
not
an Indy
entirely sure.
500.
Yeah, Kenny Brack definitely won an Indy 500, but I don't know about a championship. So we've got some pretty interesting news to talk about. Dale Jr. and Junior Motorsports sent out a tweet earlier this week. Let me see if I can find it. I've actually got it on my phone. Let's see, Um, so Junior Motorsports. So every year, I want to give some context to this. Before the Coca-Cola 600, all the race teams has this one weekend event called Fan Weekend, where all the race teams set up booths, stands, and they're invited onto the premises of the race shops. So, I went to Hendrick last year. Um, I got to see the Hendrick Museum, got to see some show cars. Great time. So earlier this past week, Junior Motorsports sent out a tweet with a an announcement for May 25th at 9 a.m. at Junior Motorsports, and I'm just going to say right now that car does not look like an Xfinity car. Because we've known for the past ever since Junior retired, the past 5 years, Junior has done his one-off Xfinity races. We talked about it last night between the three of us that Junior is doing the Bristol Xfinity race this year in September. but that car does not look like an Xfinity car whatsoever.
I was actually just thinking maybe he does something special for the All-Star race.
Well, that's the thing, is that that announcement is the weekend after the All-Star race. It's the weekend before the 600. So maybe he is doing a one-off throughout the season. Now, where that would be, I don't know.
I think a super speedway.
No.
Nah,
No, absolutely not. He would
no,
not do a super
he
speedway.
doesn't. No, he doesn't need another concussion.
Now, I said it in the group chat the other day when it was mentioned when you sent the post. It has, I think, because they only revealed one, because he has he's planning on 2 Xfinity Series starts this year. And only one of the paint schemes is revealed, and that was the Bass Pro Shop scheme that he's going to run. So I think it's possible it's just an Xfinity scheme, and maybe we're overthinking things because we really want Junior Motorsports and Cup. But I could be wrong.
We might be.
I hope I'm wrong. Trust me. Trust me.
I hope I'm wrong too. But I could have sworn that the Hellman's paint scheme was revealed earlier this year, and maybe
according to J-Ski, it has not been. According to J-Ski, they only have the Brandt car, the Brandt 70-year car, and then that Bass Pro Shops car that is gorgeous, by the way, that Junior's going to run. It's an orange car. It's similar to what Tony used to run. It's beautiful. Here's
the interesting thing. I'm starting to think it's an Xfinity car all of a sudden, because I just looked on Lionel, who is our diecast supplier for NASCAR, and they have his Hellman's diecast up for sale for $65, and which is the same price as the Xfinity cars. So you never know. So maybe it is an Xfinity car, but it looks so much like a Cup car from the photo.
That's what they want you to think.
I know. That's what I hope. But the problem is, where would he get the charter from if it is a full-time ride?
That's think you could buy it off Rick Ware Racing?
No, they're gonna. I think Rick Ware Racing is going to keep funding that car no matter what.
It's like holding on to his stock. It just keeps going up. Why would he sell it now? It's just going to continue to go up in price. He could sell it to Junior in 2 years for even more money. It's like a stock. He's just holding on to it.
That's the problem with the charter system.
Exactly. I don't love the charter system, and unfortunately, it looks like it's going to stick around. We obviously had the drivers not the drivers, but the owners boycotted one of their meetings last week. So I think that's interesting. It shows that the TV deal is not going down as well as we would hope. So there's a lot of interesting things with the money right now.
Yeah. And obviously the team's not getting enough money is not helping at all. So now that we've gone on a little tirade about that, let's move on to Martinsville. Why don't we?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Martinsville. It was a thing. Truck race. It was a thing. Corey Heim got his first win of the year. So good for him. Good for Tricon. I did not see them winning that race, but we did have NASCAR history Friday night with the wet weather tires being used on an oval. So that was fun to see. I don't know how to feel because we only got to see like 20 laps of the wet weather tires being used, and there was only like 60 laps run under green for the entire truck race, which is a crying shame. But overall, Corey Heim got his first win of the year. And then Carson Osvar is making headlines again. He's oh man. Carson.
He just turned left.
He just turned left in the wrong way.
Wrong timing.
Oh, what a shame for I just want to get behind him so bad, but I can't. It's just I don't know. Just he's not doing it for me. I want to like him so much, but this is not the answer for Carson because he's making the wrong choices, and even Hamlin called him out on it.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised about another driver calling him out, but I wasn't on the fact that it was Teddy Hamlin.
Oh, Hamlin will call you out instantly. That's not a problem.
At least it's not Kyle Busch calling him out of all people.
Yeah, it'll be full of swears and a lot of bad things. So yeah, Carson's just doing Carson things, to say the least. But Corey Heim, first one of the year, he's in the playoffs, so good for him. And on to the Xfinity race, John Hunter Nemechek, second win of the year. He had the literal definition of a burnout on Saturday night.
It looked like I was watching Back to the Future.
Yeah. I was like, that car's on fire. Does he know that? And
it looked cool.
It looked cool.
Oh yeah.
But that between that and then the truck race at Coda, that's a problem. That's a problem they need to fix.
Well, the only reason why they're catching on fire during the burnouts is because of the mud flaps in the rear tires. They're just getting hot, and then they catch on fire.
That's such a weird problem.
And they really don't. They didn't use them, so they definitely used them at Bristol. I guess they use them at the short tracks now, but I don't think they use them at the intermediate tracks at all.
No, I don't think they're using them at the intermediate tracks. I think it's just the smaller tracks.
Is Cup using the mud flaps?
Yes, they were on the cars yesterday.
That's a problem. That's a big problem they need to fix.
It's just, yeah. I mean, it's really because we've seen it. It's just that rubber builds up right there, and then it gets hot. So it's you know how they fix it? You take the mud flaps off.
But they won't.
That's the fix there.
Yeah. So Nemechek, second one of the year, basically guarantees him a spot in the playoffs. So good for him. And then Larson, I'm going to be honest with you. I never would have thought I would see the day him winning at Martinsville. And he
didn't either.
No, that's the funny thing. And I've been watching him since he came into the Xfinity series. And I've always said since I was like, I don't know, 14, 15 or so, that's Martinsville is his worst track. And I've always told my grandfather, it's going to be just an average day at Martinsville. It's his worst track. And here he comes out of nowhere and wins the whole thing. So
did he pull Marcus Ericsson?
In what definition?
Came out of nowhere and just was there.
Pretty much.
I think we should make that a thing. Pulling a Marcus Ericsson.
Pulling a Marcus Ericsson. Yeah. So Cliff Daniels did make a great call on the last stop, 2 tires, because there was a lot of tire fall off, but it took a long time for those tires to fall off throughout the race. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember the last time I saw green flag pit stops at Martinsville.
It's been a while. We've seen a lot more cautions throughout some of those races, so things were a lot more tame, I would say,
Yeah.
yesterday. A lot more tame than some of the previous races that we've seen at Martinsville. But we did definitely see, at least with the aero package, drivers were sliding up a little bit more, but I'm not sure it really made a difference. It felt like the only way to really pass anybody was to either bump the crap out of them from behind or one of the things that I really enjoyed watching was Tyler Reddick early in the race. We saw it with Chase Elliott a couple years ago, just this specific line where you're kind of diamonding around the track, where you're entering really high and you don't really get to the apron until the center of the corner, and then you come back off. It's a very specific line that some of those guys have tried doing, and we saw Reddick was making some really good time with it early in the race, and it felt like that, Larson was trying that to get around Logano. He was doing all he could to do that move. So it was a very specific set of circumstances in order to be able to make a pass yesterday. And I think that made things a little bit difficult. I don't even think we had more than 10 lead changes yesterday. So it was very hard to get up there and pass the leader. And unfortunately, tires didn't wear as much as I think people wanted to see either.
Yeah, early in the race, Reddick and Bowman were hauling. Bowman probably had one of the fastest cars early on in the race, and eventually fell off in the late portions of the race.
Which stinks. He was my pick.
Yeah, he was mine too. Who did I pick?
You picked Bell and him.
Yeah, that's right. Bowman.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my pick.
Who did you pick again? I can't remember.
Who was your pick?
Willie B. Yeah, not great.
Rough day for Willie B.
Which is very surprising because he had the fastest long run car in practice. So that may be contributed to the cloud cover. I'm not sure. But I tell you what, it was definitely a better race at Martinsville last year or this year compared to last year. But it was great racing when the sun was out. It was some good racing when the sun was out, and it was just pure sun. The track was fully bathed in sunlight. That was some good racing because they were beating, banging, side by side for a good while. And when it was cloudy, it was just nothing. It was very much like both races last year. Not a whole lot of passing when there was cloud cover, but when the sun was out, it was good.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, we saw some of the guys slip up and get a little slippery. That's a testament to the new aero package, but I also think it's a testament to, the sun being out as well. I think that's a really good point that you just made.
Yeah, it's another thing I kind of think. It's kind of funny that we're talking about aero at Martinsville and even Bristol when
I don't think we should be at this point, but look where we're at.
It's just such a weird concept to be talking about aero at those two places.
Yeah, it's just not a good situation right now. So yeah, it was definitely a better race yesterday than it was, like I said, last two races there. Not by much, but definite lack of cautions that we're used to.
What was it, like 5 cautions?
5 or 6.
Including stages?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one caution I want to talk about was there's a tire on the front straightaway for a solid 2 to 3 laps. Yeah. Now, granted, it was right along the wall, but NASCAR did not throw the caution for a solid 3 laps there at the end.
I'll admit to the people back watching this that because the whole tornado warnings and weather being annoying, I didn't get a chance to see the NASCAR race, but
So I may be breaking this to both of you then, huh?
No, I knew about it. I really think it comes. It's one of those things, right? Like it's so inexcusable because like we talked about last year, there was the rain at Daytona, and everybody made the excuse of
Oh
like they
God.
should have known it was raining. But there is the excuse that it's a 2.5 mile track. Martinsville ain't that. Martinsville is a half a mile. You should be able to see that and throw the caution as soon as you see that. That's just a given. I'm sorry.
a
Sorry if that's
well-behaved
controversial.
a well-behaved tire, at least it stayed towards the wall.
Oh yeah, I mean that was
Yeah.
very nice of it rather than going up into the stands like it definitely could have. Yeah. So we appreciate. Shout out to the tire. Do we know who it came off of? I never saw.
It was. Let me find it real quick.
I mean
It was a 78. That's all I know, but I don't know who was in it.
probably McLeod.
It may have been. Let's see here.
Anthony Alfredo.
Anthony Alfredo.
That's
Let's go.
Of course, that tire behaved well.
Oh,
Shout out to the tire though, for
that's
real.
why.
Not
The
just
tire,
driving out
tire
on the
a
track.
goat.
Is goated for real. Goated with the
Oh, yeah.
sauce, as they would say.
Uh,
I'm just trying to
man.
think of every random term to throw at Chris here.
Listen, we're just trying to have a good time here.
That reminds me of the tire at like the 2008 Australian Super V8 race. You probably, or V8 Supercars, whatever they call it. You probably seen that video, haven't you? There was
I
a
think
tire.
so.
Pretty much, there was a tire that came off a car, and it was hugging the wall right out of the way of everybody, going downhill, and then it hit a thing, and it bounced up and landed perfectly right on top of a tire barrier, like nothing happened.
Oh yeah.
The world's most well-behaved tire.
We appreciate the well-behaved tires.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, V8 Supercar racing, if you've never watched V8 Supercar racing, that's a good time.
That's crazy. It
Man,
really is.
like, I mean, that's the closest thing that we can compare to an intercontinental stock car. But they're
With an
just,
Australian flavor to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which,
But
if you put an Australian flavor to anything, it automatically makes it wild.
Got to get some Vegemite.
Vitamita Vegemite.
Marcos Ambrose, dude.
At Marcus
him.
Ambrose. Yeah, but yeah, if you guys have never watched a V8 Supercar race, go watch some highlights, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah, I remember Marcus Ambrose. I think it was Marcus Ambrose. He got in a fight with somebody on track.
At Bathurst, I remember that.
Was that
Yeah,
Marcus Ambrose?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, man, gotta love Marcus Ambrose. Like the nicest dude ever, but also the fiercest competitor on track.
I want to see him get in a fight against Will Power.
That'd be a great fight.
That would go 10 rounds at least.
WWE cage match.
No, gotta go Hell in a Cell.
Love
Exactly.
A little off topic, but you know what? It's fine. It's good content.
To get on topic, can I just say, like, kind of like Stuart Haas kind of choked yesterday. Like, they had 2 cars in the top 10, so shout out to them for that. Should have been all 4 in the top like 5, and Ryan Preece they had I think it was the penalty that got them back there, and then he never recovered. I mean, he got back up there, but it with how hard it was to kind of pass cars yesterday, never really recovered from it. And a lot of random names got up into the top 10 yesterday. I mean,
Todd Gilliland with P2 at one point.
yeah, exactly. And Ricky Stenhouse
do?
finished 8th yesterday. Bubba finished 9th. He had an up and down day. Bubba had a real up and down day, and he ended up finishing 9th. He was the 3rd best Toyota. We talked about where, it's funny. Last week I said Christopher Bell taking over at Toyota. What was he? The last running Toyota? No, he wasn't the last running Toyota, but Bell finished 16th. Truex and Hamlin kind of out of nowhere at the end of the race. P3 and P4.
Logano. Logano was almost 2 laps down at one point and finished 2nd.
Oh, yeah. A lot of guys that were kind of struggling throughout the day. Chase Briscoe, who made the most of having some good SHR cars along with Eric Almirola. And then Ryan Blaney, who started in the back, had to move his way forward, finished 7th. So really solid days for everybody in the top 10. All of it was necessary. Chase Elliott at top 10 with his first race back after the leg injury. So some good days out of some guys, and then some bad days. We never saw Kyle Busch get up there at any point yesterday. Tyler Reddick was up there for a very limited amount of time, and then he faded back into obscurity. Brad Keselowski was up there. He was fighting for the top 10, top 8, and it just didn't work out for him. He finished 24th. Never saw AJ Allmendinger. Really never saw any of Colleague yesterday at all.
No.
Which is unfortunate.
I'll tell you what, Legacy is something they need to figure something out, because both
30th
Greg
and 31st
and Jones finished in the top 30. So they need to figure something out.
Also, speaking of people that are kind of random people, although he's not so random, it was Chase Elliott's first race back from his injury.
Get free fried pickles at Hooters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If Chase gets a top 10, you get free fried pickles.
Interesting.
So he did pretty good in his first race back from a broken leg. What was it, broken leg?
It was
he broke his tibia, the front, like your shin bone, but he said he broke it more up towards his knee.
That sounds painful.
Yeah.
That don't sound fun.
No.
Or comfortable.
Absolutely not.
As someone who's only broken their thumb in their lifetime, I don't want
That's it?
Yeah.
I broke my collarbone.
Okay. See, that's
didn't
that's
hurt
a big
that
one.
bad, though.
See, I've never broken a bone, but I dislocated my knee when I was in high school, and I had to have surgery to replace one of the ligaments that holds my kneecap in place. So, like, I'm not like, I was really afraid of breaking a bone before then, and now I'm like, honestly, like, that shit can't hurt that bad compared to what happened to my knee. Like, my knee was the most painful thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. There's no way breaking a bone could be like.
I'm sitting here rubbing my knee right now.
It was painful. The worst part was, like, it was the last practice of my senior year of football, and my head was angled towards my knee, so I saw my kneecap like move over to the right, and then I straightened my leg. It went up and like punched my my thigh bone, my femur, I think it is. It went up and punched that, so now there's a dent in my femur, and then it went back into place, and it was like sideways, and so I had to have surgery to get it all wrapped up and fixed. So it was like 6 months of physical therapy. I learned how to walk again.
That'd make me sick just seeing it.
Well, and I started screaming, and my teammates started making fun of me for it. And I'm like, why are we making fun of me? You do not know what I just saw. I just saw the most terrifying thing happen to me. Like,
I remember when I broke my collarbone playing football. And it was a stupid accident that I'm not going to get into because it was that stupid. But anyways, I landed on my head, my neck, and like this. I can't believe it didn't hurt my neck, but it pretty much hit my collarbone, and I heard a snap or something. And yeah, I was hurting. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it hurt. And I had to take a few minutes, but I tried playing again with it before I called it, and yeah, then I had to call it. But like I said, it didn't hurt that bad, but it still hurt.
Well, and I think that was like for me, it was painful. But I think the fact that I saw it with my own two eyes was what caused so much of the pain. When you see that sort of stuff, when you see yourself get hurt, I feel like it's automatic that you like, like if you broke your finger, right? Like, you're playing football, you broke your finger or something. They say it's facing the wrong way. Some guys could go a minute or two without even noticing until they actually look at their hand, and then they look at their hand and they're like, "Oh, it hurts all of a sudden." It's just one of those things that when you see it, there's a little bit more pain, and especially like the initial shock, you're always like, "Oh, I'm going right back in." Like when I hurt my knee, I was like, "Oh, I'm still going to be good to play this weekend. Like it's Tuesday, games on Friday, I'll be just fine."
Nah.
No. And then after that, I was like, "Oh, I can play in state." Like if I think it happened in the semifinals, so I was like, "Oh, if we win, I'll play in state." No. Was never going to happen.
Speaking of knee dislocation, we really got off the rails right there.
Oh yeah.
Start talking about injuries. Yeah.
Where were we? Because I don't remember. We were talking about the top.
I think we were wrapping up the top 10. Yeah.
Yes. So our top 10 from Martinsville: Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Bubba Wallace, and Chase Elliott. So that is our top 10 from Martinsville. And then our playoff standings from Martinsville, or post-Martinsville, goes Kyle Larson, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ross Chastain, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, Chase Briscoe, Chris Buescher. Buescher is only 6 points above the cut line. So that'll lead into our drivers who are below the cut line. Daniel Suarez is 6 below the cut line. Michael McDowell is also 6 below the cut line. So they have a legitimate shot at getting in. Like I said, we're only 9 races into the season. We've got 17 to go before the playoff starts. So there's going to be some time. Only time will tell how this thing will shake out, but it'll definitely change for in a little while.
I'm expecting a lot of change, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Like you have, I think that like Chase Briscoe has been like he's been good, but you have so many races with him where it feels like he's like we're 50 laps into the race and he's 38th, and it's just because that's just how the car is that week. Like
right.
His major inconsistencies, I think, are going to catch up to him, and you got a guy like Ty Gibbs who's 20th in points, but 4 top 10s. Like he can easily sneak in, and Bubba's down there as well. Austin Dillon. I think Suarez easily gets in. I think the main thing holding McDowell back, right? He's only got 1 top 10 right now compared to a lot of those guys that are around him who have 2, 3, 4 top 10s. So that's the main thing that's holding McDowell back. He's just going to need to find himself in the top 10 and really just get some more stage points, I would say, too.
Yeah, so Cindric, 9 back. Gibbs is 13 back. Austin Dillon, 24 back. Bubba, 31 back. And Corey LaJoie is 33 back. So it's a very, very realistic shot that some of those guys do get in on points. And
don't forget, Allmendinger's going to win a road course race this year, too.
You never know. But I'd say that everyone below LaJoie in points has to win their way in, especially Allmendinger and Gregson, who are non-existent right now.
I think me and you are holding on to a lot of Gregson hope. That's just fading fast.
Yeah. We, like I said, I guess it was last week or the week before that I predicted Gregson winning Rookie of the Year and getting into the playoffs, which is not looking too hot right now.
He has not had a season to remember so far.
Well, well, like we were talking about earlier, what's going on with Legacy? They haven't been what they were last year. It's just it's weird because I think we both predicted that Eric Jones was going to get in, and they're like in top 30 in points.
Well, I think honestly, it's just a product of some of these other teams have gotten better. I really think. I mean, we've seen front row really improve. Michael McDowell's been up there competing a lot more. I mean, he's up there more in the point. Normally, I feel like at this point, McDowell's a little bit lower in the point standings, and he's been up there. You have Corey LaJoy, who is 23rd in points and has been really getting up there a lot more. And so there's some of those teams have really improved. And I think that that's part of why we see SHR running so bad as well. It's just a lot of these teams have improved from year one to year two. We've seen JTG. Ricky Stenhouse has had a really solid start to the year. Like a lot of these smaller teams that are normally back there in points with them that are allowed them to gain more points, they're just not back there. So they're having to race against, I mean, they're racing against SHR cars and stuff like that. And so it's just been very difficult for them. And as you said, they need to turn it around quick because it has been a very poor start to the year. And it makes me nervous for any more Jimmy Johnson starts because I don't want them to be like embarrassing. Like I don't want to hit like he's had 2 starts and the second one, he didn't even like make it like the whole
He didn't
lap.
even complete a lap. Yeah.
No, like, so it's nerve wracking for them. And I'd be, feeling like the playoffs have already like they need to hit the panic button now. Now is the time to hit the panic button for them because if they don't hit it now, they're going to be in deep trouble when we get later in the season.
It's funny that I don't even recall anybody mentioning Jimmy Johnson during the races that he's running this year.
Well, that's, the first race, I think he was involved in a wreck at some point in the 500, I think late, but he was never really, he was up in the top 10, I think one time, and then we never really saw him again. And then, when he was at COTA, I mean, he wrecked on the first lap. That was all there was to say about Jimmy Johnson's experience in a stock car at COTA. He wrecked on the first lap. That's it. Unreal. And I don't think it was his fault, but
definitely wasn't.
But it still happened.
It's like his IndyCar luck has followed him back to NASCAR.
I don't know if IndyCar, if it was luck or not. I'll just leave it at that.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, I'd say it just the transition from a stock car to IndyCar definitely played a lot more factor into it than luck. But luck still had a little bit of a factor with his IndyCar days, and is looking like that he's still has some poor luck in NASCAR as well. But
and in all fairness, too, right? We always say that we don't expect these guys from IndyCar or F1 to come over and just dominate against these NASCAR champions. So it's hard to think that Jimmy would go in there to IndyCar and then dominate against those IndyCar champions. He was going to have struggles either way. So that's, it's not shocking that he struggled in IndyCar compared to the talent that he was going against in that series.
I will say that I did expect him to be mid-pack.
Sure.
I expect a little bit.
Especially in a Ganassi car. You expected him to be a little bit better than, I think he finished 20th last year in points. So like you expect a little bit better than where he was last year.
And because too, we look at Juan Pablo Montoya, he wasn't terrible in NASCAR by any means.
Absolutely not.
He win a race?
He won 2 races.
He won 2 races, okay. And then other than when he hit the jet dryer, which I still laugh at that.
His most memorable moment in the sport.
See, it's funny. When I Google his name, the first thing that pops up is Juan Pablo Montoya jet dryer. It's not Juan Pablo Montoya Indy 500. It's not Juan Pablo Montoya Monaco win. It's Juan Pablo Montoya jet dryer.
Love it. I love it.
It's a memorable moment. I mean, I remember exactly where I remember that whole day because it was that Monday night Daytona 500, which was very interesting. And then he hit the jet dryer, and my dad's like, "You have to go to bed. You can't finish the race." I'm like, "This is bogus." Like, because he hit the jet dryer, I have to go to bed, and I don't get to finish the race because I have school tomorrow. And I was so mad at Juan Pablo because I had to then I had to go to school, and then I had to come home and watch it after school, all because he hit the jet dryer, and it took him like 3 hours to fix it or however long it took.
I still remember DW's reaction to it. He looked at it and he was just like, "What in the world?"
I think that was all of us. That was unreal.
He's never going to live that down. That is his legacy.
Oh, definitely.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And we hear it on Radioactive. Guys still make fun of it all the time.
Yeah.
But going back to guys making that transition and not being all that successful, look at Dario Franchitti as well.
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude about it, but he wasn't great. He didn't put up great numbers, I should say.
No.
I mean, and he got hurt in an accident too. I think he I don't know if he broke a leg in a nationwide race or something at Talladega, but he got hurt in an accident in a nationwide race. I remember at Talladega.
Yeah, I don't remember that, honestly. But then you have guys like Tony Stewart, because remember, Tony Stewart was originally an IndyCar driver.
Mm-hmm.
This is correct. He was the one that kind of set the precedent that it was doable that you could go from like IndyCar to NASCAR or vice versa. And then you had Sam Hornish did it as well in the 2000s.
That's right. I forgot about Sam Hornish. And he was the IndyCar champion or IRL champion.
Mm-hmm. And he was fairly successful. He was much better in the Xfinity series than he was in the Cup series.
Yeah, he should have won an Xfinity championship, I think.
Oh yeah, he was always so exciting to watch when he would race in the Xfinity series. He did a couple one-offs, I think, just a couple years ago, and I think he won one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe in like 2018 or so.
Yeah, a few years ago.
But talking about Tony Stewart,
5 years ago.
Yeah, a few. Yeesh. But talking about Tony Stewart, you can play into what our final headline for the day. Yeah. Smoke, your boy Mason.
Let's go.
His first NHRA win in Las Vegas. How do you feel about it, my friend?
Dude, that's awesome to see that he finally got that NHRA win. He's been really, really getting into the NHRA stuff, and I'll tell you, I was looking at some of the photos from Vegas, and I haven't seen him smile like that in a long time. So it's really good to see him get the win. He's really enjoying doing the NHRA stuff. His wife does some of the NHRA stuff as well. So he's living the dream. He's doing everything he could ask for right now, and it's good to see him still winning races as as far out of his NASCAR career as he is. I'm always going to support him for his racing and stuff because I've always said it, but I have not found a driver that just makes me feel the same way that he does when he wins a race. Like there's just something that I get very excited. There's something that I feel when he wins a race that no other driver's ever been able to replicate. And I'll always appreciate getting to see him hold up a trophy at the end of the day.
That was always me and Dale Jr. and who else was it? Carl Edwards. I loved seeing the backflip when I was growing up.
Oh yeah, the main thing that I think I remember about it all was I used to shake a ton, like especially after the 2009 Daytona race. I remember where I was very well. The Coke Zero 400 when he turned Kyle Busch. Kyle drove across his
Kyle Busch
nose.
Blocked. He did it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I think Kyle Petty tried to blame it on Stewart. I was like, dude, he turned across his nose. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. So when Larson wins, I don't feel the same way as I did with with Gordon winning, but it's up there, as I remember Jeff winning his last race at Martinsville, and it's kind of funny that Larson won at Martinsville this past week, and so it's pretty special, honestly, even with the story of the five, winning, was it 39 years apart from the first win at Hendrick, and now they're in pursuit of their 300th win in NASCAR. This is win 295 for Hendrick Motorsports. So it's pretty cool. And fun fact, Hendrick, this is insane. Hendrick Motorsports has a winning percentage of 35% at Martinsville.
Absolutely ridiculous. They are amazing at Martinsville. Jacob, I want to ask you though.
Yes.
Do you get, when Kyle Larson wins or like when Chase Elliott wins, do you get that same feeling that you did when Jeff Gordon used to win?
Not as much. Like maybe when Larson won the championship, I got pretty pumped, but not as much. Just because Gordon was my childhood hero growing up,
Sure.
And winning's always special, no matter what no matter what it is. Larson's got some dirt races coming up this week before Talladega, so I'll watch those. He'll probably win them, knowing him. But just the only thing that I can compare to watching Gordon win his races when I was growing up was the 2021 championship with Larson.
Yeah, the most memorable race that I can think of in NASCAR that I watched was, for good reasons, was the 98 Daytona 500 when Old Dale won, and then the 2001 Daytona race when Dale Jr. won.
Yeah.
I was a kid. I was young, but I knew even then that was something special when he won there. It was the first time at Daytona after his daddy died.
Yeah, that's makes sense because we see highlights of it all the time.
And I remember the feeling too around NASCAR. It was like, everything was going to be all right after Junior won that race, that second Daytona race. And
it was just so when I remember when I know from past highlights. So I was like 9 months old. So obviously I wouldn't remember that. If I did, that'd be kind of impressive.
I was 2 months old. Woo.
So, we get to say that we were alive during that time. We never experienced it.
I get to say I saw it.
Yeah, we never get to. We'll never be able to say that we saw it. But throughout the years of watching racing, we get to say we watched Tony Stewart win the Brickyard 400, Jeff Gordon winning the Brickyard 400 so many times. So just these little things that we can all compare in our lifetime, just as race fans. It just makes it pretty special, I'd say.
And I still remember the Schumacher days, him winning. I although it wasn't quite the same feeling because he won so often.
Right.
But seeing him win all those races, that always made me happy.
Right. And as a diecast collector, it makes it a little tough on me because I've only got 2 spots left in the case. So,
do you have any Schumacher cars?
No, I would like to eventually possibly get one. But that would be like a couple years down the road if I do get Schumacher.
I have one, and that was from 2000. And I remember Santa Claus brought me it one year.
Woo, Santa Claus.
And I still love that car.
Yeah,
but
I've got I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I've got a car for Jeff's last win from Martinsville, and what Lionel likes to do, they like to to make the special finishes of the car, and this is when they had really good quality die cast, and not what we have today. Um, so what I've got for Jeff's last win is the Galaxy finish, and that's when Fanatics is really involved at going to the tracks, and when they had the tents for the stores there. So the car that I got was a Fanatics exclusive, and they made only 89 of the Galaxy finish Jeff Gordon cars for his Martinsville win. So
I found this at a thrift store about a couple of years ago. Recently, I found Jeff Gordon's. I'm not sure what car it was. It might have been his Bush car. I believe he was racing number 1.
hold on, I got it right here. For those of you who are listening on Spotify, you're just going to have to use your imagination. Probably the Babe Ruth car.
Yeah.
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 When he was.
I found that at a thrift store, and came with a little card with it too.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
I found a lot of cool things at that thrift store.
Yeah, just that's the one thing about being a racing fan. You can just show passion whichever way you want. Whether it be collecting trading cards, diecast, whatever. And that's why we're race fans.
Those diecast cars are expensive.
Yeah,
the big ones.
My bank account's not happy with me. Anyway, so let's talk about Talladega real quick, and then we will wrap up for the day. So, Talladega, we expecting anything less than chaos?
No.
That's what I thought.
That's one of those wild card races too.
Yeah, and if we see in the Cup Series, if we see a race like we had in the fall, I'd be okay with it. No messy big crashes, great racing at Talladega. I would be perfectly A-okay with that.
Yeah, I think it'll be fairly tame.
You think?
Compared to most Talladega races, I think it'll be more tame.
Compared to the 2019 package at Talladega, it'll be tamer, but there will more than likely be the big one a couple times.
Sure.
Who's y'all's pick?
All right.
Man, I don't know. Mason, I'm going to let you go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll say my pick for this week is, it's tough to. I'm gonna go Ryan Blaney. All right, Ryan Blaney has been a Talladega guy. I kind of want to say Chase Elliott, but I'm gonna go Ryan Blaney in this scenario because he's been a Talladega guy and he hasn't had the win in a little while. I think he's due. I think it's gonna be Ryan Blaney. If I had to pick a dark horse, somebody that's gonna come out of the back and kind of steal this thing, I'm telling you right now, Corey LaJoie will be there at
Dang
the
it.
end. So sorry to take your pick. You shouldn't have let me go first. Corey LaJoie will be there at the end. So those are my two. We got Ryan Blaney as the main, Corey LaJoie as this week's dark horse pick.
I'm going with Chase Elliott and Michael McDowell.
Okay. For my pick, I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. And for my dark horse, I'm going to go with Noah Gragson.
Of course you are. Because a win would just it would make everything better for your predictions.
It would.
How about Justin Haley?
Priest?
No. Like I texted you guys last night. I was talking about Priest last week about him not getting into the playoffs would just make us look like idiots.
I do want to point out about Ryan Priest a really bad stat. He is one of 4 full-time drivers, I believe, that has not had a top 10. That includes Ryan
geez.
Preece, Harrison Burton, Noah Gragson, and Ty Dillon.
Like in his career?
No, like this season.
This
Doesn't have a
season.
top
Okay.
10 this season.
I was thinking, really?
Just yeah, I believe that.
My third pick is going to be, if I could make a third pick, it's going to be Priest out of spite.
Thanks. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode, guys.
Absolutely.
So whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, we appreciate you so much. Guys, where can we find you within Back Sports page and on social media?
Well, you guys can check me out at Twitter at Mason Hollywood 6. From there, you'll be able to find my link tree that's going to be able to take you straight over to my articles on Back Sports page. I have a couple things that'll be releasing this week. I've ran into some issues with some of the stuff I've been working on. So a lot of the stuff that I've been working on over the last few weeks will be out this week. So make sure you're checking me out on Back Sports page. I would love to have everybody read through my articles. And then on Instagram, I am mason.wood01. So feel free to check me out there. I usually just post my life, and I post my girlfriend, and sometimes I post my articles. So just feel free to follow me on there if you'd like as well.
My Twitter is just _sports fan, and I just retweet whatever I think is cool. And every once in a while, like Mason, I'll post an article, and my Back Sports page thing is Christopher Shoemaker, and I actually just, as of
Got that hockey article I saw.
Recording this on Monday, I just released an article today, so go check it out again, and it's on my predictions of the first round of the Cup playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. Go check it out and tell me why I'm an idiot.
I didn't think you were an idiot. I read it this morning. So feel free to disagree with him if you'd like, because I don't have much to disagree with him. So
go Canes.
Right.
Yeah. So where you can find me on Back Sports page, you can find me pretty much in the entire motorsports section within Back Sports page, and on social media, you can find me at JWBarker24 on Twitter and Instagram. I retweet a lot of stuff on Twitter, but I do have a lot of coverage on race day and try to do my best throughout the week. But I work a lot, so I don't have the best coverage throughout the week. And then on Instagram, I try to post some about my life. And you can find me on my socials, all on Instagram and Twitter. So if you guys don't have anything to say, I think that'll do it for this episode.
Thanks for watching,
crazy
everybody.
Kids in their Instagram.
Yeah, we're that's our true dreams, trying to be a Instagrammer.
I've had it since I was
model.
like 13, man.
Oh,
like my account's like 8 years old now.
I have an account, but I don't use it. I used it just to DM people.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching or listening. We will catch you guys on the next episode of The Outside Line. Have a good day, guys. And like I said, we will catch you guys later.
Bye-bye.
See ya.